Okay, we'll call the Town of Crossfield regular council meeting for Tuesday, June the 15th, 2021 to order. Before we accept the agenda, there has been a request to remove 7.1 from the agenda, pending more information. So can I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
Also move that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that's carried. We have minutes for June 1st and June the 8th. June 1st, we'll do them individually. Any errors or omissions? If not, can I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, and June 8th, somebody want to make that a motion? Any errors or omissions? If not?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. go
Joanne
ahead.
Beechup. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And those are carried. Okay, so we're going to call the public hearing to order. Bylaw 2021-07 for redesignation from urban reserve to R1C residential single detached small lot district, R1B residential single detached medium lot district, and MUN municipal and institutional district, and PUL, which is public utility lot, for lands legally described as Southwest 3528, 1 west of the 5th meridian, which is 4.189 hectares or 10.35 acres. Urban or administration, who wants to do the report?
Mayor Tennant, I would defer to Sarah Nielsen from Urban Systems. She'll report on the file.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. So this is the redesignation application that the mayor has mentioned. It is for redesignation from urban reserve to residential single detached small lot district, R1C, residential single detached medium lot district, R1B, and municipal and institutional district, MUN. So this is for areas that are known as the phase 2 lands of the Vista Crossing subdivision. The background on this file is that the ASP has been in place. It was adopted on June 16th in 2015. Phase 1 was adopted in 2015 as well. Phase 3 was adopted in 2017, in June 2017. Phase 3A followed in September of 2018, along with an ASP amendment to include the future school site that's in the southwest corner. And then phase 4 was approved and adopted in in April and May of 2018. And then this bylaw 2021-07, was given first reading on May 15th of this year. So the redesignation is for 4.19 hectares or 10.35 acres to facilitate the development of a 44 lot subdivision for residential dwellings and community infrastructure that's supporting that. So the breakdown is approximately 1.3 hectares going to R1B, which is the medium lot residential district, and then 1.1 hectares going to R1C, which is the small lot, and then a combination of 1.1 or approximately 1.1 and 0.66 hectares going to municipal reserve, those being for PUL and then the MR lands. The site is currently undeveloped and unused. The surrounding uses are primarily urban reserve to the north, the east, and the southeast. It does border onto phase 1 of Vista Crossing, where there's the municipal reserve, the MUN, that's right at the southwest edge, borders onto phase 1 of Vista Crossing. Access to the proposed area would be through the internal road network. So that's Amory Crescent and Vista Drive, which access off of Highway 574 or Limit Avenue. The application aligns completely with the ASP. It does not deviate from what the ASP shows, which is low density residential and supportive infrastructure, including the municipal reserve and the PUL lots. and it aligns specifically with several policies, including policies around the type of land use, which is residential and supportive uses, as well as the housing mix, the diversity of housing types provided, and again, those community support amenities in the municipal reserve. So just one quick note that we wanted to make sure council is aware of, that the residential density in this phase is lower than the target density that's set out in the ASP. So it's at 10.5 units per gross developable hectare. And the ASP targets 15 to 20 dwellings per gross hectare. This, however, that target is intended to apply across the ASP. So it's not specifically per phase. So this still aligns with the intent to have that density target across the ASP. As for the land use bylaw, it aligns with the intent of the districts, the R1B, R1C, and MUN districts in the provision of residential dwellings and community amenities. And we did want to note that the existing wastewater system is currently at capacity. We recognize that, and that in order to proceed with residential development that will ultimately tie into the town system, the town must provide a solution. So that's just a note that we have on file for this application. We did not receive any objections or concerns from the circulation. It was circulated to all the external agencies and adjacent landowners for commenting. The only comment that we got of note was from MPE, and that was regarding the sanitary capacity. So MPE being the engineers reviewing this file. And on behalf of administration, we would recommend that council proceed with second and third reading of this amended bylaw. And I'm happy to take any questions for this public hearing. I should also note I believe we do have the applicant here with us tonight, so we can direct questions to him as well.
Sure. So we'll let the applicant go next if there are no questions from council.
I just have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just looking at what Alberta Transportation wrote. They don't have any objections, but they noted the subdivision proposal does not meet section 14 of the regulation. Could you just explain that for clarification?
Yeah, I would have to pull it up. That is a standard response that we see with almost every application. It's just because we are in proximity to the highway. So they just note that it doesn't meet section 14, which essentially says no development near the highway. So they, I believe it's section 16 that gives them the authority to vary section 14, and they have done so, which is just at the bottom of that paragraph. So this is a very typical response that we see from Alberta Transportation, just noting that it doesn't meet section 14, but that they waive that if the town so chooses.
Okay, and then just, I was just curious too, we have comments from the Catholic school. Is Rocky View School Division also circulated on this?
Yes,
And they
are.
decided not to comment?
That's right.
Okay.
That's quite common, actually, that we don't get responses from certain agencies that we circulate.
I get it. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, and who is who's lined here for the applicant? Who are we? Is that Jim?
Jim Grandin.
Okay.
From the Dream Developments is actually.
Okay, perfect. I can't see from here. That's too far from my old eyes. Sorry, Jim. Now, see if you'd put your face on there right away, I'd known who you were.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Jim Grandin. I'm VP Development and GM for Dream Development in Calgary and area. And I'm here to speak in favor, of course, in our proposed bylaw land use amendment. It's a phase that we are quite keen to get on after some delay with some prior planning that we had done earlier a few years ago where we thought the market was there, and then it paused. And we were fortunate enough to have a resurgence in the market in the last about 6-8 months. And they've our home builders have done well to absorb the inventory that we've created in our phase 1 and our phase 3. And phase 2 is a nice bite-sized chunk that we are very happy to now proceed with. One of our concerns would be with respect to this wastewater capacity issue, because of the demand in our world, very much like farmers, we want to make hay while the sun shines, and right now the sun is shining on us. And so the potential delay on issuing permits would be a concern, as we would have anticipated needing building permits probably by late fall, so say October, November. We would want to be starting with some permits for houses at that time. So I know that there's a flag on the conditions of approval regarding the timing of that. I know and I'm aware that there was a special meeting of council last week that was great to see that there's action being taken. And all I would ask is that if there is some traction on a contractor to enable the town to proceed with the capacity improvements that are identified, we would like to suggest that we would be very much appreciated if that condition could be relaxed such that permits could be issued if there was a solution in the works or even underway. Aside from that, the phase is pretty straightforward, as Sarah outlined, and I'm here to answer any other questions you might have.
Okay. Any questions for Jim?
I have no questions.
None for me, Mayor.
Nope. Okay. Anybody else that wants to, do we have any public that want to speak either in favor or opposed? Do we have any requests? No? No? Okay. And Lindsay, public hearing, does it have to be 30 minutes as it used to be? Yes, okay. Okay. Right. Correct. And the correct term is and it's not pause. Okay, so the requirement is that the public hearing be open for half an hour, which has not yet transpired. So we're going to continue with the rest of our agenda, and we'll watch for the half hour and then go back into the public hearing if there are any questions or either anyone speaking for or in opposition. Okay, and so for right now, the public hearing will be in recess. And do we need a motion for the recess? No, it's just in recess. Okay. All right. Number 5 on the agenda is the result of the public hearing. So we're going to go. Let me just take a look here because sorry, say again. Right, so item 7's gone. And we'll just go on to 7.2 then. Mustafa, do you want to talk about the Munson Street paving?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So a report was presented to you guys about the Munson paving program itself. So as per Council's request, we did tender out the project itself. We received 4 bids on May 27th, 2021. We basically checked them for errors and omissions. While going through it, we found very minimal errors in 2 of the bid documents. We corrected for those errors, and we presented the results below in the table. So as per the results itself, in first place with the lowest bid, it was Grindstone Paving and Excavating Limited at $460,014.37. And then second place is Professional Excavators at $473,722.87. Ruby Rock and Asphalt came in at $568,956.94. And Consite Construction came in at $637,093.74. So Grindstone Paving and Excavation Limited, they are a newer company. So we did our due diligence and check references and asked different municipalities how their quality of work has been. They provided us with 7 references. We were able to get a hold of 4 of them. We're still trying to get a hold of a couple more of them, but based on the information that was presented to us and the reference checks from the 4 individuals that we did get, they gave them glowing reviews stating that they completed the work to their specification and they're really easy to work with, providing a good quality product. So when it comes down to it, administration is recommending that council award the Munson tender to Grindstone Paving and Excavation Limited for an amount not to exceed $460,014.73 plus GST, and that the Director of Infrastructure be authorized to sign the contract on behalf of the town. And I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
I just have a couple of questions. And just for clarity and transparency, who received the tenders?
So the tenders were posted on Alberta Purchasing Connections. So
Right.
that is the government website where all municipalities post all their tenders. From there, it gets linked to multiple different sites where tenders are posted, such as builders work and so on. And basically any contractor has the ability to go to these websites and download those documents and bid on the project.
Sorry, I wasn't very clear on it. Who here received the tenders? Like who received them and opened them?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So basically what happened was we received them at the front desk. It came to me at 3 o'clock. We did a tender opening, which was advertised in the tender document itself, where we opened it up and we read out the numbers without actually reviewing them. So after we reviewed them, we made the corrections for any of the errors they had, and the results were presented here. So,
And when you say we opened them, who are you referring to?
it was myself, Stantec, and then everyone that submitted was present, but any member of the public or any individual that bid on it could have come to the tender opening itself.
Thank you. Questions?
None for me.
Yeah, I just have a couple. So Stantec is hired to help us make decisions on RFPs?
Yes, so basically they produce the RFP itself and they produce the contract documents and everything like that when it comes down to it. What they do is in correspondence with us, we review the whole thing and make sure there's no mistakes itself.
Okay, and so do they also help decide who we choose?
They make a recommendation, but it's based on contract law itself. So basically for tenders, it's typically, unless you have an evaluation component, it goes to the lowest bidder unless you find a reason they can be forfeited, whether it be, inexperienced or unsatisfactory work from the references, anything in that realm itself.
Okay, and I understand that they're the lowest bidder, and that's that's great. We always like to come in a little bit under. Sometimes the lowest bidder isn't best, and it sounds like you've done your due diligence by calling references. I'm just curious, with those references, did they come in on time and on budget?
That was one of the questions we did ask, and they basically stated that they were on time and they were on budget, and they were really they worked really well with the public as well. Was
Okay.
the other thing they stated.
And so no outstanding, like no major issues that you could flag during those reference calls?
None at all.
Okay. And then just one more question. I'm just curious, because this amount is so substantial, you're asking for the Director of Infrastructure to sign the contract. I'm just curious if we should have 2 signers on it, and whether it's Mustafa and you, Merrill, or maybe even Lori, and just have 2 people sign. Is that fair?
That's a possibility. Yeah, that's more than fair. We can do that.
That's all for me.
And then I have one final question. And again, this is just for transparency. Using Stantec, like they're not on a retainer. So we use them because,
Originally, when the project came to be, it was through the grant funding that was put out by the province. So they did the preliminary geotechnical investigation and some of the concept plans. So it made sense to proceed with the same contractor rather than going out and getting a new one, because they would have to do their own geotechnical and would have to start from the beginning. It would cost the taxpayers more money for the engineering component itself.
okay, thank you. Okay, so there is a recommendation here from administration, and we could include in that motion, whoever might want to make it, that we request for a second signature on the contract. So the motion is in the agenda. Who would like to make that motion? I'll make it. The Grindstone Paving and Excavating be awarded the tender for the paving of Munson Street for an amount of not to exceed $460,014.37 plus GST, and that the Director of Infrastructure and the Director of Infrastructure, Mustafa Hashman, and our interim CAO, Merrill, be authorized to execute the contract on behalf of the town. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Okay, and that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 7.3, award safety codes inspection services. Merrill, did you want to speak to that?
I do. Thank you, Mayor Tennant. So the subject of this report is awarding a request for a proposal for a contracted provision of the safety code inspection services. So the town currently has a contract with Superior Safety Codes for safety code inspections, and the contract will expire on June 30th this year. So the last agreement that we signed with Superior dates back to 2018, but we go back many, many years into the mid 2000s that we've been working with Superior. So we put out the RFP in the middle of May, and we received 3 proposals. The RFP was put on the Alberta Purchasing Connection and also on the town website. We did notify Superior Safety Codes as well prior to posting, so they were aware that it was coming. The proponents' bids were based on what services will be delivered, with the percentage split between the agency and the municipality, which is 60-40, 60 to the inspections company and 40 to the town. And that's based on the permit fees that we have for all of our building, plumbing, gas, and electrical permits. Potentially impacted, we will work with the new contractor on setting up permit applications and communication with regular permit applicants, home builders, with a June 28, 2021 start date. The current contractor will have Superior Safety Codes close any permits as of the transition date with a 1-year completion. So any permits that Superior has issued to date, or we've issued to date while working with Superior, will have 1 year to close. So we'll work with them to close the permits. So following our review of the documents submitted, there were 3 companies that submitted. Administration recommends that the town of Crossfield proceed with Park Enterprises Limited for safety codes inspection services contract for the town of Crossfield. And we're asking for a motion that Park Enterprises be awarded the safety codes inspection service contract for the town of Crossfield, and that I, Merrill Jarvis, interim CAO, be authorized to enter into a 3-year service agreement.
Any questions regarding that?
Yeah, I have a couple. Sorry, Meryl.
No, that's okay.
On the safety codes inspection for the 60-40 split, is that standard?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
And what would the total amount be, say, in an average year?
Ooh, that's hard to say because it's dependent on how many permits we receive. So,
Well, let's take last year, for example. Do you have just a ballpark?
Again, it's difficult because I wish I would have had that stat for you, because it depends on what the split is. How many homes? A permit for a home runs around $1,200 as opposed to a deck construction, which is $118. So collectively, I don't have that value in front of me. I can actually look up if you have another question, I'll see if I can get the staff.
Well, somebody
chart.
else might have another question. while we
Actually,
do
that was my question.
Sorry, I should
Kim,
have
is-
started there.
No. No, I just what was the impact? And one of the other questions were, because really is price a factor in the the RFQ for this one, or was it more? I guess what was your decision? Why did you make that decision? What were
We
the
made the
factors?
decision to go out for RFP just because we've been dealing with superior safety codes for over 10 years.
Yep.
And we felt that we should take the opportunity to see what other companies have to offer. And from what we saw in the proposals, we felt that Park Enterprises would give the town a better service delivery.
Fantastic.
Okay. So in 2020, we issued 97 building permits in total. And again, it's hard to put costs out there. 36 new home construction, and then we're looking at renovations, residential garages. So those are minimum permit fees, but if council would like, I could probably get you a value tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. Thanks for following up.
Yep, no problem.
I think I'm trying to remember it. It was a line item on the
Yeah.
budget, so I don't think it's very big. Like
No.
I don't
permitting
think
is-
it's big
Well,
enough.
not at,
it's-
not at
it's-
40%, no.
So the 60-40 split. So the 40 would be us issuing plumbing, gas, and electrical permits, making sure the applications are complete. Whereas currently Superior Safety Codes, they issue the building permit. So we make sure all of the documents required to submit a building permit are received, but they do all of the review documents, all of the inspections, as well as the plumbing, gas, and electrical inspections. That's where the inspector costs come up from, and their
Mhm.
administration fees as well. But I will get you a value tomorrow.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Questions? I had just have one. Now, so if Superior has issued the permit, they're going to do the inspections up, and people have up to 1 year to get that completed, right?
Yes, so any permits that have been issued to date this year and previous will be closed by Superior Safety Codes within 1 year. We're going to work with them to get it completed within 1 year. We'll review again as we get closer to that date next year, what we do after that.
Okay, so people will have already paid for that inspection by
Yes,
virtue of
all
their,
the inspection fees are within the
Right.
permit fees.
how many re-inspections do we allow on a permit?
So that's also dependent based on the breakdown in the quality management plan that we have with Safety Codes Council. So for a building permit, we're looking at framing, foundation framing, and finals, so 3, whereas a deck would only need 1.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's why the permit fees
Right.
fluctuate, because it's dependent on how much follow-up is needed.
But sometimes a permit will allow, depending on where you are, it will allow for 1 re-inspection at no extra charge.
Mhm.
If for some reason framing failed, you could do a re-inspection at framing or at final, whichever, and it's covered. But if it requires more re-inspections than that, then there is a fee. So do we have that built into our system as well? Because if it allows for 1 re-inspection and a permit needs 2, how is that dealt with?
So if there's more inspections that are needed outside of what the original permit was issued for, there have been times that Superior has just done it free of charge.
Okay.
But I do understand that if it's an ongoing, then they would charge the property owner
Mhm.
or the
Mhm.
permit holder.
And it would still be Superior that would finish out that permit,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Okay, that was my
So
question.
if they do an inspection and something doesn't meet code, they have to fill out a VOC, which is a verification of completion. And whether they provide pictures to the inspector or the inspector visits the site,
Gotcha.
they won't sign off on.
Right. Okay. That answers my question. Thank you. Okay, so there is a motion request that Park Enterprises be awarded the Safety Codes Inspection Services contract for the town of Crossfield, and the interim CAO Jarvis be authorized to enter into a 3-year service agreement. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, 7.4, letter to Alberta Municipal Affairs. Meryl, did you wish to speak to that?
Sure. So I believe a letter to Alberta Municipal Affairs requesting additional time extension for the 2020 financial statements. We originally had sent a letter, and I think it was the expiry was set for the beginning part of July. However, administration is waiting to receive confirmation and ministry approval on the MSI Municipal Sustainability Initiative on a submitted project. So we're still waiting for that, and we're not ready to bring financials without that approval. Once we get the approval, the statement of funding and expenditure will be revised, and our auditors can then complete the 2020 financials. So we are required to request an additional extension, which is not uncommon.
And we haven't heard from the minister's office when they might be looking
We're
at.
at their mercy. We
Yeah,
really need
yeah,
that.
okay. Any questions on that, Councillor Gustafson?
No, none for me.
Councillor Cornelison?
Is that the only issue? Everything else is ready to go? And
Everything
that's
is
the
ready to go. It's
singular
only the
issue.
SFE.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a motion request there that a letter is sent to Alberta Municipal Affairs requesting an additional time extension to August 31st, 2021 for the completion of the 2020 financial statements. Who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Are we at the half hour, Lindsay? Okay, so we'll reconvene our public hearing. Anyone that's joined that is in favor or in opposition? If not, I'll consider the public hearing closed, and we'll go back to item number 5.1, file 2021-700000100 for the subdivision to create and subdivide 4.19 hectares, 10.35 acres, to facilitate the development of 44 single-family residential dwellings and 2 municipal reserve lots and 1 public utility lot in Vista Crossing Phase 2. Okay, so can we have a motion? The motion is in the agenda.
And that was 5.1?
5.1, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll
Mayor
make that
Tennant,
motion.
Sorry, Mayor Tennant, if I may, we do have a report from that. Sarah can read the report.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Sarah.
All right. Thank you, Meryl and Council. So this one, this one and the land use redesignation were submitted in tandem concurrently. So they did run concurrently. I won't go over the background as that's the same as the land use redesignation, but I will just briefly, for Council's information, share a map. If you'll give me one moment. Is that working?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sarah.
So if Council's able to see the screen, so this is the Vista Crossing subdivision that's outlined in the red dash. The red solid line is Phase 2. And then you can see the different land use areas within there. And then I will bring up the subdivision report. Some technical difficulties, my apologies. So this is the for the subdivision of the Phase 2 lands for Vista Crossing. And ultimately, the proposed lots align with the land use bylaw for the redesignated areas. Also, the provision of MR is well above the 10% that the town of Crossfield requires as per the municipal development plan. They have provided 0.65 hectares, which is 15.9%, so 5.9% above the 10% that's required. As well, the community is over designated because of the dedication of the school site in the Southwest that occurred in 2018. And all public utility lots and the MR lots in the municipal and institutional district align with those districts as well. And then we just have that same note regarding the existing sanitary capacity and that the town is working to provide a solution on that. We did not receive any objections or notes on this as per the circulation, other than MPE Engineering's note about the capacity limitations. And this was run concurrently, circulated with the land use redesignation. So all the circulees were able to see both applications at the same time. The recommended conditions of approval are all of the standard ones, just two of note, one being that council approves the concurrent application for redesignation that we just saw in front of you. And as well, the condition regarding the sanitary capacity and the issuing of permits be delayed until a solution is found. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? No?
I guess I have a question for Meryl, and just on they're saying that the internal road work that they have right now is going to be used, but they're also, I believe, in the circulation.
Vista Drive, you can access the subdivision through.
Okay, so now I guess bring this up as council, but also as a resident in that area.
Yes.
That Knight Avenue is not paved right now, and dust mitigation. Do they have a plan for that? And garbage and either any other items that may come up with using Knight Avenue?
I understand your question, and I think I'm committed to making sure that we mitigate through anything through development so that it's not going to cause any disturbance to the existing residents.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question for Jim. He's still, attending the meeting. I wonder if Jim, if you could provide us with any plans that you may have for dust mitigation, garbage, weeds, anything that you would have in place so that it doesn't disturb existing residents that back onto the development or neighbor it?
We have had, since we started development in Vista Crossing, a service that comes and picks up stray garbage that's blown off our site into the various open fields, the wetland areas, whatnot. So that is a regular part of our maintenance program already. It has been since we started. And so we would just continue to do so. Dust concerns, of course, as they arise, we attend to them. Meryl had just recently sent us a note advising us of the situation from the hot days a week or two ago. So we're aware of it. It's just part of our ongoing maintenance program to be a good citizen in the town of Crossfield.
And Jim, I'm sorry, Councillor Gustafson. Jim, can you just clarify, access will be provided from Knight Avenue, is that correct?
It will be in the ultimate. So there is a small area between this phase 2 boundary and the existing lane that is Knight Avenue on the Harrison side of the property line there. So there is a temporary gap, but we recognize that the main access for phase 2 is going to be From Vista Drive, there's northeasterly from the traffic circle, the street changes to Thomas Street. And then that connects to Knight Avenue, which ultimately will connect to the existing Knight Avenue in Harrison. So there will be 2 connection points ultimately, but on an interim, the main one will be from Vista Drive northeast from the traffic circle. And for emergency purposes, we'll have some surfacing, temporary surface applied to that gap of Knight Avenue. So it won't be the primary route for residents to take until that intervening phase gets developed. But it could be available for emergency access should there be an issue with the Vista Drive route.
So I guess when we say emergency, there's nothing stopping that it actually becoming a, or what do you mean that what are you gonna put on for a surface, or is it gonna be paved, or when is it gonna be paved?
Won't be paved because that'll be torn up with future utility extensions. So it will be gravelled as a topping to ensure passage for emergency vehicles in that situation, which may or may not ever occur. So it'll be infrequently, if ever, used, and so it'll just be for assuring that it can be passable. We know that people tend to not, like Joe Public, will not tend to want to drive on a gravel road when they can do a paved road. So the primary route would be through Vista Drive.
Jim, if I may, I do know that residents, if they see a temporary road, they will use it. So can you tell me if anything could be applied to the gravel to keep the dust down?
We could look at some sort of mixture for it. We could look into that.
Is there any chance that access point could be gated, kind of like up in Veterans Park, on the west side there? There's a gate for emergency vehicles. If they have to drive through it, they can. Would that be something we could consider here to deter having people use the emergency access?
That would be another option for sure. We've done that in many developments as a interim measure. Absolutely. In fact, it's often used for a permanent where there's a long cul-de-sac, for example, and you need an alternate route through a walkway. That's what's often done as a gate across that opening. So traffic can't normally enter it, but the emergency services would have the ability to enter or pass through that gate. So that is another option.
And I guess, when's the ultimate goal for final surfacing of that road?
Not until that intervening phase comes on stream. And the reason that phase 2, as you see it, is the shape that it is due to the presence of an ACO high pressure gas main, transmission main. And then also there are a pair of Mountain View Water Services Commission water lines that are right on our east boundary that need to be considered as well. So there's a little bit of, there's a few issues that have to be dealt with in order to develop that phase. And so that involves relocating the ACO transmission line.
Okay. Yep. That's all for me.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Jim. Okay. So back to the motion. Motion is that subdivision for file number 2021-7000100 to create, subdivide 4.19 hectares, 10.35 acres to facilitate the development of 44 single-family residential dwellings, 2 municipal reserve lots, and 1 public utility for Vista Crossing Phase 2 be approved, subject to the conditions outlined within the subdivision report prepared. Somebody want to make that motion? Okay, Councillor Nelson, all in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Okay, item 6.1, bylaw 2021-07 for redesignation from urban reserve to R1C residential single detached small lot district, R1B residential single detached medium lot district, a municipal and institutional district, and public utility lot for lands legally described as Southwest 3528-1 west of the 5th, 4.189 hectares or 10.35 acres. That was the subject of the public hearing. And so if we're ready, we'll give it second and third reading. So does somebody want to make a motion for bylaw 2021-07 for second reading?
Make for second reading.
Okay, all in favor? That's
Aye.
carried. Who wants to give it third reading?
I'll give that third reading.
Okay,
Mayor.
all in favor?
Mhm.
Okay,
Aye.
that's carried. All right. Now we are down to 7.5 utility arrears penalties. Is that something you wanted to speak to, Meryl?
Sure. I'm just going to read what's on the agenda here. So over the last year, due to COVID, the COVID pandemic, the town of Crossfield has not been charging penalties on utility arrears as motioned by town council. So with everything slowly going back to normal, we wanted to know if council would like to revisit this. And we've provided you with two options that effective August 15th for the July billing period. Would you like administration to start charging penalties on arrears for utilities? Or option two, continue with not charging penalties on arrears for utilities until further notice?
And Meryl, do you have any information on how many arrears we forgave during that period of time, like dollar value, not number, but dollar value?
No, Mayor Tenant, I do not, but I can certainly get that to you tomorrow for you to consider at the next council meeting if you like.
Yeah, I just wonder if it, like, I'm not against extending it, but if it wasn't highly used or needed, then I wouldn't see the purpose of extending it. I don't know, what does the rest of council think?
I agree with you, Mayor. If there's no value in it, let's just get rid of it.
Because that was my question too. So we're all.
So
If there's no value, but I think, before we can make that motion, we need to see, there's just a little tidbit more information that we need to see before we can make that motion. So I think that needs to be tabled.
Like it
Until
could
next
even include the number of penalties waived plus an average dollar value, because we can't be specific enough to figure out who it was or anything. But if it was 10 people and it was $1,000, or it was one person and it was $1,000, I think that's relevant information in my opinion. But
Right, and that was my curiosity. Is it the same households every time accessing this, or has it been changing
Yeah,
across the board? And if
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
the one, like the same number every time, then I don't know what the value of that is, but
I know the number of accounts that get transferred to taxes due to non-payment remains the same. But I can find out how many arrears were forgiven.
sure.
yeah, and I don't know how hard it would be to find if they were very delinquent prior to us
Yeah.
making the motion to forgive it. And if it was just, the same property owners that are, maybe taking our kindness too far.
yeah.
Okay, so do you, who wants to make a motion that we table that for our next meeting?
I'll make that motion that we
Okay.
table it for the next meeting.
Okay, and for some more information. Okay, all in favor of that motion? Okay. Okay. Under Mayor and Councillors' business, I've got June the 8th, a special council meeting on the wastewater review. And sorry, Lindsay, I don't know why I didn't get there, but June the 9th was Water Commission meeting. And they're starting to do interviews for the new position there of plant manager. So that should be announced here fairly soon. And then also today, the mayor's group had a meeting. We talked to Tanya Thorne, who's our representative currently with AUMA. Of course, hot topic is RCMP policing funding reports. We're trying to get more information from the government. It seems to be fairly slow coming. And then I had an additional question about RCMP-based victim services. That's who serves our area. And what if there was any information available at all, if the province is thinking of moving away from the RCMP, what does that do with victim services? That'll have a huge impact. And they've province has already changed some of the funding for them. So it could have huge impact on the kind of service that we receive here with victim services. Libraries back open. There was a discussion today at the mayor's meeting that the grads are having an event in Carstairs. Is that true?
That's correct.
Oh, okay, okay.
But the
I was
after grad is here.
sorry.
they're having their after grad.
The after grad will be
Oh,
here.
okay, because they were kind of talking about it and I thought, I think we've already had our grad,
Keep
but
changing.
I not participating in it. I just took it for information. So
And I'll give, maybe if I may, Mayor, just a quick background on the reason why that they chose to use Carstairs is not because it was difficult to do here. There was some challenges to do it here, but in Carstairs there was a stage already set up, and they already had approval for it the day before for the Carstairs. So instead of reinventing the wheel and going to the extra cost on getting the stage brought to Crossfield and set up, let's kind of cut some costs. Whatever venue it was, we're just looking at our grads and be able to still use the town facilities, the rodeo grounds as the after grad. It's fairly limited this year, but it's still doable. And you want to add another grad parent?
Yeah. So they will be doing the after grad at the rodeo grounds with some furniture movement, because unless something changes, they won't allow it to be in the building still. So we're just going to push the stage to the edge for the DJ, so they all stay outside for the evening. So.
yeah, and I mean, to me, it doesn't matter, but I just wondered when Carstairs said that, I thought, oh, I think you guys have already had your grad, so I was a little confused about it, but
It
that's
also
great.
had to do with AHS approval because
Yeah.
we were in a different zone.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, different zone, and our grad, such as it was like, what, 2 weeks ago, and this is
via
now,
Zoom.
and so everything changes. So that's great. It's good to hear the grads get a little bit more for the event
Well,
than they did originally.
Yeah, we actually get to physically be there,
Yeah,
watching
and
them
watch.
walk across the stage. Mind you, they're just doing a kind of basically a mock camping ground,
Mhm.
but it's a lot more than
Yeah.
what we had before with the
Oh,
school.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Lovely. Okay, and then tomorrow is Rural Women in Business. And then just a heads up for council, next council meeting, I will not be here. I have an appointment at the Foothills Hospital that I do not want to miss, and it is for a good portion of the day. And I've been putting that off for too long, and so I will not be at the next council meeting. So just so that everybody's aware, if I'm not here, where I am. Deputy Mayor Harris.
Just want to recognize that last week, June 6th to 13th was Seniors Week. And I just want to recognize all the seniors, and they're a vital part of our community. And I thank them for their contributions in shaping our Crossfield community. On June 8th, I attended the special meeting of council to address the wastewater. And I just want to thank the organizer of the parade garage sales. It was so nice to see everyone walking up and down the streets of Crossfield. It was creating a buzz. It was a good opportunity for neighbors to meet neighbors. And then it was also really good to see the farmers market return, and I'm looking forward to attending often.
Okay, Councillor Cornelison.
But the only thing I could bring up is unfortunately, the Rodeo Society did make the decision to cancel Pete Night Days again this year. There was just still too many variables to get everything done within 2 months, or if we had to cancel again. So we're looking forward to next year, which is our 45th anniversary. And in the meantime, we're still utilizing the time with grants. So we're doing maintenance and repairs. And so it's all going to look totally new out there for next year. And we are planning a dance October 23rd at the community center.
Okay.
It'll be our Harvest Howl, I do believe. And I've already had phone calls for pre-sales on tickets. So.
And no obligation to do the dance that you were trying to encourage people to learn last year, right?
Yes. So we have our fingers crossed. We've already booked the band, the food trucks, everything. So by then we'll be back to normal by the end of October, we're hoping. So
Excellent. Okay.
yeah.
Councillor Gustafson.
Nothing other than the special council meeting with the wastewater. I'm actually very happy to see that happen and us moving forward on a great solution that administration provided for council on that, and hope to get some new updates in the next couple of months on some progress.
Perfect. Okay, and Councillor Knight was not able to join us tonight, and he had a couple of questions, but that's directed to administration. Some of that information will be at subsequent council meetings. So we are now at administrative updates.
I have nothing further.
Okay.
Mayor Tenant.
Correspondence is listed there. Any questions, concerns regarding that list? If not, can I have a motion to accept the correspondence?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, any gallery questions? Okay, upcoming events are listed. And